Thank
I
you.
yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Grothman.
Yeah, I'll go over a few of the programs. Do you have a new payment model for physicians who implement anti-racism in their care plans?
I'm sorry, Congressman, if you,
Do you have a new payment model for physicians who implement anti-racism in their care plans? Are you familiar with such a thing?
you'll have to give me more details so I can understand what your question relates to.
Okay, do you have an Office of Climate Change and Health Equity?
Yes, we do.
Could you explain what that means?
If you walked into many of the communities throughout our country, they are suffering ill health, many times driven by the fact that the climate has exacerbated conditions. You have communities that no longer have clean drinking water running through their taps because of the drought that has occurred because of the climate change that is occurring in this country. You have people who are suffering conditions where they can't afford to pay for their heat because the conditions have gotten so cold. Climate has affected everything, including our health. We have an office that tries to make sure that we protect people's health, and one of the ways we can do that is to also take into account the effects of climate change.
Sometimes it's too cold and sometimes it's too hot.
Congressman,
You
people
said,
are dying.
you said you had problems in communities that sometimes...
People are dying.
You said sometimes you have problems in communities because the communities are too cold?
Correct. People are dying in some of these communities because they don't have access to clean drinking water. People are dying because they can't afford to keep the heat on in their apartment. People are dying, and so we don't want people to die. That's a bad health condition if you die. We want to make sure we do everything to address it, including the effects of climate.
Could you explain what health equity means?
Health equity, fairness and inclusion. We found out through COVID especially how we have gaps in our system where there are communities that are left out completely, individuals falling into black holes when it comes to care. We're going to do everything we can
I don't
to
understand
try to
what you
change
mean
that.
by left out.
Congressman, do you walk through your communities? Do you walk into your district and find people who don't have health coverage? Do you find people who can't afford buy the food they need?
I think everywhere, people go to the hospital. Sometimes the hospitals complain because they've got to take care of people and aren't getting reimbursed. So we have very generous local Medicaid programs for people who want to sign up for them.
I'm sure you have poverty in your district, Congressman. Have you walked your district?
Well, sure, we know people who are poor in my district.
Then you should understand what it means to have health equity so that those folks aren't left behind.
Well, right now in Wisconsin, I believe everywhere around the country, we have a Medicaid program for people who are, I guess, what you describe as poor. Frequently, those
We still
programs.
have some 25 to 30 million people who do not have access to insurance, health insurance, who have to use the emergency room often to get their care. Often by then
Correct.
it's too late.
Now, we'll say there's a new guidance from the Food and Drug Administration and the Centers for Disease Control that prompts healthcare systems to prioritize COVID-19 treatments, such as monoclonal antibodies, based on individuals' race. Is that true?
Based on their race?
Correct.
Can you show me what you're reading from? I'm not aware of anything where we prioritize based solely on race.
Maybe solely, not even partly?
We prioritize based where the need is.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Congressman.
Good. The gentleman